Brady was atrocious. He threw the ball a ton, 48 pass attempts, only averaged 4.5 yards per pass, 216 yards passing. He took a lot of hits, 2 awful interceptions, including one to end the game. A guy who has not taken very many hits. Dr. David Chao at Pro Football Doc, or maybe you have taken a lot of hits over the year, Doc. I'm not exactly sure. When you watch Brady, and I know you've watched Brady play a lot over the years, as everybody out there listening to us has, and by the way, I appreciate you joining us on Tuesday. Regular listeners are going to say, wait a minute, usually he's on with us Thursday. That is Thanksgiving. So we're getting a lot of guests packed in the early part of the week here. Does Brady look 100% healthy to you? Like, would you be able to tell, you think, if he were unhealthy? Because some of his throws last night looked very un-Tom Brady-like.
I agree, but I could argue he looks excellent, in an excellent shape for a man in his early 40s. Right?
Oh, there's no doubt. There are a lot of men in their 40s listening to us right now that don't look like Tom Brady. And there's a lot of women listening to us that are like, I wish my man looked a little bit more like Tom Brady. And 2 of them may be your wife and my wife, Doc.
Oh, no question about that. But really, it just shows what a team game is. If you look at the best quarterbacks in the league, even in their prime, when you made them uncomfortable in the pocket, let's take Peyton Manning, for example. He didn't do that well either, and clearly Brady was uncomfortable in the pocket. And let's be fair, he didn't have any run game. So, it's hard to be one-dimensional in the NFL. It is the ultimate team sport. It's not basketball where one player can then just dominate and dictate all of the time. So, to be fair, some of it's on the team and some of it is, he's 40.
All right, let's dive into some of the major injury issues as we get ready for Thursday and obviously another week of NFL action now that we finished, I think it was week 11. All the weeks are running together. I think we just finished week 11. All right, so Drew Brees, 11 fractured ribs. And I'm going to be honest with you, Doc. I don't even know how many ribs people have in their chest, but 11 seems like a huge percentage of them. How many ribs can you have overall broken? I don't even know how many we have. Is it 13?
I guess in theory you could have all your ribs broken on each side, 12 on each side broken.
Yeah.
He had 8 apparently on the left side, 3 on the right side, and 8 that he broke apparently he played with. So, there's no question that's a record high number. Clearly they weren't displaced fractures. Otherwise you'd be in the ICU on a ventilator with, a flail chest kind of thing. So he's tough, but he still is human, no question. And I'm not doubting any of the reports, but this is just a very, very high number. The only good news that I will say, and I'm a big advocate of, never too high, never too low, and 11 ribs, and you think, oh my God, he's done. And last year, Drew Brees, it's his thumb and he needs surgery, he's done. We said then that 6 weeks and he'll be back 100%. Yeah. And he was. Now, of course, we couldn't have predicted Teddy Bridgewater go 5-0 during that period of time.
Right.
Taysom Hill is 1-0, and I don't think it's going to be 6 weeks. I think it's closer to 4. Yes, he got put on injured reserve. The good news is ribs heal reliably, and so will the lung issue. And Drew Brees will be back before the end of the regular season, is my strong opinion, and back 100%. Yeah, he's another 40-some-year-old quarterback, but he will be fully back and healthy. The question is it mid-December or late December? Certainly in time for and before the playoffs. So that's kind of the good news on Drew.
Okay, so when he comes back, so when your ribs break, and I don't know the answer to this, we're talking Dr. David Chao, which is I'm sure a lot of people out there don't know either. A lot of times they say, hey, when your bone breaks, it grows back stronger than before. I'm not sure if that's 100% true or not. But is he more susceptible to major rib injuries given how many broken ribs he's dealing with right now? Or if he comes back in 4 weeks, is it basically like he's 100% healthy again?
Well, we certainly don't do tests and rebake ribs at 3 weeks versus 4 weeks versus 5 weeks. But in general, it's strong enough. And when is it magically stronger? Yes, bones can heal stronger than before because of the extra callus until it remodels. Yeah. But you don't have a lot of rib refractures if you're coming back at 4 weeks. And so that's a reasonable number. That's where he'd be, mid-December. And, by 6 weeks, it'd be late December. So somewhere in there, he is going to return and look like the Brees of old, I believe. Some potential rust, but physically, he should be fine.
We're talking with Dr. David Chao. He is a fantastic follow at Pro Football Doc. You can also read him at OutKick. Okay, so that's Drew Brees. The other story, another quarterback, gruesome-looking injury, and I do think the gruesomeness of the injury has made people apprehensive about his recovery going forward. Joe Burrow out for the season for the Cincinnati Bengals. We got details on that injury Monday. Now, as we sit here on Tuesday, what is his prognosis going forward?
Well, to me, it really hasn't changed. When we saw it on Sunday, we posted on OutKick and otherwise that it looked, unfortunately, like an MCL for sure and probably an ACL. The ACL got confirmed really on Sunday. And Monday, the news of the ACL and MCL, I think, has taken people and thrown them into a tailspin. I mean, I heard on Monday Night Football talks of letting him sit in 2021 and come back in 2022. That was somewhere during the Monday Night Football broadcast. And I think that's clearly an overreaction. Look, every time you tear an ACL, it's common that you have associated injuries. We talked about Tom Brady. When Tom Brady tore his ACL, he tore his ACL and his MCL, and his knee got infected, and still he was ready for week one. Now, admittedly, it was an early season first-game injury, but let's take another example, a Cincinnati Bengal. Carson Palmer tore his ACL and his MCL, and may even have dislocated his kneecap, and that was in a wild-card playoff game, I think 2006, if I'm not mistaken, and he returned week one, played 16 games the next season, had a 93.3 quarterback rating, top 6 in the NFL, 28 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, and that's coming back off his ACL, MCL. So I have optimism. A lot of people compared it to Carson Wentz, who had an ACL, LCL, which is a totally different story because you're literally doing surgery on 2 ligaments, where in an ACL, MCL, even if there's a small PCL component, not to confuse listeners, you're really only reconstructing the ACL. You're letting the MCL and PCL heal on its own. That is why I remain optimistic that Joe Burrow could be the starting quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals week 1 of 2021. Now, admittedly, he probably will get stronger and stronger as the 2021 season comes about. But I believe physically he could be capable to start week 1. So not only for 2021, but also obviously for the future. The 2020 season, of course, doom and gloom. This is, of course, terrible. There's a lot of work, a lot of rehab. He's got to have a successful surgery and work hard at it. But I don't see the doom and gloom of, oh, my gosh, see him in 2022. This is not Teddy Bridgewater.
We're talking Dr. David Chao. Last question for you. Thanksgiving coming up. What should people be aware of based on you as a former San Diego Charger team physician? Turkey Bowl injuries. I know there's lots of restrictions about all different sorts of activities for Thanksgiving, but there's still going to be a lot of people out there with a football flinging it around in the yard. What are the most common injuries you see from a Turkey Bowl?
Well, when I was young and in high school, we had our turkey bowls, and I remember experiencing, thankfully, I probably did too, but there was a 4th and 1 play, and I think I, as the ball carrier and the defender, both got concussed. Me, at least I was walking around. The other kid, not so lucky. But nowadays, if I go play catch, I think I'm more worried about pulling a hamstring, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
Bending over and, a totally different world nowadays.
It's going to be a lot of dads and uncles and probably some grandpas too stretching and pulling stuff, and there's no doubt. And hopefully everybody has a great Thanksgiving. Dr. Chao, appreciate you getting up early with us. Have a good Thanksgiving with you and your family, and we'll talk to you next week.